Good afternoon, Mark. Welcome to the Public Square. How are you?
I'm fine, yes, and the name's Martin, sorry.
Martin, I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Martin.
Yeah.
And Martin, what do you do here in Belfast?
I run a small arts organisation based in the university area, and we, with various studios for various artists, and I would make sculptures and do installations and performance art a little.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, performance art.
Yeah.
And do you consider yourself an artist?
Yes, well, I think everybody is an artist at heart. We all have something to say, and we all have opportunities, and maybe some people don't take them, but we all have opportunities in our life to be creative. That can be bringing up a child in a creative fashion, that can be dressing in a creative fashion, that can be so many things. I think we can all be creative, yes.
Yes. Interesting. I have a question about what I believe to be political use of psychiatry. Have you heard about this?
Not something I would be looking at very much, to be honest with you, no.
No? So political use of psychiatry is where psychiatry is used for punitive purposes to either silence dissent on the basis of political opinion or racial background, religious background. There's a number of reasons why persons would use punitive psychiatry.
Okay, I know it's something I can understand that would be happening because of the system is built around a set of rules, and each culture has a different set of rules. I mean, we have our own problems here in Northern Ireland, which I'm sure you're well aware of, and it takes a long time for any democratic thoughts to come to the fore to stop one group of people or another group of people, or in this case, if you're talking about psychiatry, that would tend to be the intelligentsia using their, I know we had our own problems here in Ireland with people thinking that the Irish race was totally different, a bit like the Aryan race, and that eugenics was something that was used in the 1920s and 30s here in Ireland. Not the same thing as psychiatry, but along the lines of dividing people.
Interesting perspective and very thought-provoking. In Northern Ireland, there was an organization, a woman went to an organization for a food voucher. Her asylum support was withdrawn wrongfully, the tribunal found, but before that was corrected, she went to an organization for a food voucher, and what the employee inputted on her food voucher was multiple grounds of disability, psychiatric backgrounds, all these grounds that she was not suffering from. So to put it concisely, she was not suffering from a mental illness, was not suffering from a disability, but yet this employee put that on her documentation to bring her under the Mental Health Order of 1986 because the Police Service of Northern Ireland and other intelligence figures did not like her political speech. Is that ethical?
Of course not. I mean, people's right to food, water, shelter are all things that the United Nations recognise as things that every individual should have on the planet, full stop. I do know that there's lots of people who find that abhorrent. They do seem to think that only certain people should have these rights, but I would disagree with them.
I think I would disagree with them as well. In this particular situation, there has not been enough transparency around it, and so interesting enough, there hasn't been like a full investigation. Do you think that there should be an investigation into this situation?
Yes, of course, and I do think that it's something that lots of people struggle with because the system is geared towards a set, I suppose, like most things here, it's box ticking exercises, and the establishment here, that seems to be the get out clause for them. You don't fit in this box, you don't fit in that box, you don't fit in the other box, and for them that is the be all and end all, and there's very little any space for human thought to actually address situations, and the establishment I suppose that's why it's called the establishment, because that's how they do things. And I find that abhorrent at times. I don't think that people in our own community would be, if you asked people on the street, would be supportive of things like that.
I like how you said there wasn't enough human thought around situations like this. Under the Mental Health Order of 1986, it has a clause, subsection 119, which makes it a criminal offense for any employee or a person to alter or forge any documents to bring a person under the mental health order. Is this an incident that you think that may fall under that?
Well, I don't know the particular case, but I find these things very subjective. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I do think that it's something that we are only beginning to learn, how people suffer mentally from many small things in their lives, from their very, very early upbringing. I mean, working with children, young children, years ago, they say 0 to 4 is one of the most important areas of a child's development. I'm not sure if psychiatrists or people in the establishment, when they're looking at a person, they're looking at their employment, they're looking at the more adult themed parts of their lives, but not looking at how that person has developed into an adult, because during those formative years, that's when a lot of things can happen to somebody, which can have repercussions in their adult life, but haven't happened to them in their adult life. So it's difficult to generalize, but I do think that the system is not geared towards a more in-depth look at a human being.
That's a great perspective, and I'm glad that you expounded deeply on that. Last question. Do you think that there should be greater protections for persons who the state could abuse legislation like this? Do you think that there should be greater protections for persons who maybe find themselves vulnerable or victims to the oppressive reach of the state?
I do. I think that it's going to be difficult in the situation of the European mindset if we're dealing with immigration, because those people don't know the circumstances of where people have come from and could never understand that perspective. I do think it's difficult enough here for young people who, I know during the lockdown there was a lot of people whose mental health was let's say strained because of the isolation, which I think an awful lot of mental health problems come from, people being isolated. So I do think it's something that's going to be very difficult for the system here to adapt. It needs probably, I know from just what you were saying there, talking about a law that dates back to 1986. In reality, that's 2 generations ago, when we should be learning generation upon generation about how we deal with people with their mental capabilities and their mental illnesses, which I don't think is probably happening. Don't know, but I would say, like everything, where you live a little bit in the past.
And for somebody that is, let's say for instance, mentally sound and working with all of their faculties, do you feel like they're at risk as well for this kind of overreach where
yes, I do think people can at any age in their life go through mental problems. As a 65-year-old man, I have watched so many young couples breaking up, people who have sound mind and health, and then the relationship breaks down, and then those people's lives break down, whether they become involved with drugs or drink or just different things, that psychotic substances, just to try and escape the pain of maybe a relationship breakdown. I mean, people can go through these difficulties for whatever reason, at different stages in their life. So there needs to be a look at how we deal with people generally from a person's point of view.
Yes. And all right, last question. Does a person have the right to say no to treatment that they would find to be punitive or treatment that they would find not to really benefit them? So let's say, for instance, the person is generally a well person, not suffering from a mental illness, but the state is attempting to use legislation because they don't like their political speech. Does a person have a right to say no to that?
Yes, and I do think that that's something that has been used for generations with people. I mean, we've discovered that, you know, from Victorian times up until the 1960s here, electricity was used on people. People were... I can't remember the terminology, where their brain was put into such stress because they thought they could numb their brain. I don't really understand where some of the medical advice and medical theories were coming from then. I think that has changed, but it just shows you that we need to develop. I find that establishment figures or establishment organisations will play the role for the system that is governing them. So if that group of people don't want a different political ideology to be espoused in their country or in their area, they will use nearly anything to change people's minds, and obviously that can't be a good thing. People need to be diverse. We need diversity. We don't need...
Well, thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
And thank you for joining the Public Square.
Okay, thank you.